Well, hello, YouTubes and other IGC members, to what is hopefully going to be the finale of this arc of Masks New Generation, our superhero Teen Titans esque game that you've hopefully, if you're here, you've watched a few episodes of before, so you know what's about to go down. All right, so coming off the holidays, so no, we took a couple weeks of a break there, but best I remember last week or last time we played was really setting up for the conclusion of the conflicts we've got going on here. Shadow Shinobi, former H2A boss, has been coordinating with was Void Spawn was the one that worked with him, right, Azar?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, they've been coordinating resources. You guys met with the ostensive leader of the Blindfold Gang, the illustrious Pinky, and seemed to have some mixed responses from them. And what else? You guys killed one of the twins, which I'll be honest, wasn't expecting, but that went down.
We do that.
Okay, Jalim does that.
Void specifically wanted to avoid doing that.
Yeah.
But we will hopefully get into it. Just have a little bit more to go before this arc's wrapped up. Currently, Highlights player is not with us at the moment. They're coming home from, I think he said New Year's Eve party. So hopefully we'll get that sorted out. They can join us later, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So after interrupting a game of Uno, I think you guys had settled some of your pressing issues, but then turned in for a rather late night's sleep, given the big day you have tomorrow. Was there anything super pressing that anyone needed to accomplish before we move on to the dawn of the final day?
Jillim needs to restock.
Well, I'm sure you have access to your supplies at your base.
Yep.
I think other than making sure that final preparations for his people are ready, Void is good to go.
All right, 2 points for Void and or Jalim. You did have, and I'm not going to remember the exact number of units, but you had some of the anti-young resistance serum left last I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And you took one of the mushrooms from Adam's res spawn area, and I don't know what you did with that.
Void took that and probably would have secured it into some sort of a container in his ship to research later. As for the anti-young stuff, I believe there's 4 doses, because I think 3 went unused, and Highlight didn't use his.
Okay, so you will have that on hand, and that will be for you guys to decide how to utilize for your final assault tomorrow. Will you say that the mushroom has been secured on your ship then?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And in the chat, we see there that Muscle Sheep has been sparring with his brother, and yeah, Catastrophe definitely is going to be on the mend. I don't know that he'll be in the battle tomorrow, and I'll go ahead and say that Neri's been sort of medically attending to him because he got beat up kind of bad.
Poor kitty.
But he got you the blood sample.
Yep.
Oh, I know what else Void could do, is get in contact with the rest of the Blindfold gang to find out, because they had talked about potentially him borrowing their powers for the battle, to find out what kind of powers he'd have access to. I know the trying to use the internet power to disable the security systems in the building was one of the things we discussed.
Okay, yeah. So you can get in contact with them fairly easily. I'll go ahead and say that Pinky probably would have given you their number, and if you really needed to get in contact with them, I'm sure there's a squirrel that's watching sheep, which would have red eyes. Which yeah, he asked me to tell the stream that Ryukin's also dealing with the sore throat tonight because hey, it's after Christmas, so he's gonna minimize the talking he'll do to try and spare that. But so getting back to then your question, Void Spawn, the the leaders of the Blindfold Gang. There's three of them. They is Pinky, who can affect how other people see them. It's kind of like a one-way illusion type thing. Steven, I believe is what I told you his name was, can astral project into animals like a warg. And there was the girl, which I don't believe you know her name yet, who Highlight saw, who can be invisible to people she's making eye contact with. Other than that, there's the little girl Virus who can go into the internet, and that's the only named powers that has been presented so far.
Okay. Yeah, of those, probably viruses would be the most pertinent to grab before going into battle.
Well, and also keep in mind that you are working with the adults, the pro heroes that also have powers you might have access to.
I feel like it would be really awkward to ask at this point in the game, but Void is not one for acknowledging social awkwardness, and we'll just straight up ask Warful Justice what his powers actually are.
He'll just look at Void Spawn and sort of scratch his head with 3 hands and say, "I have 4 arms."
It's super strength.
Super
No,
strength.
each of my arms are as strong as a normal arm, but I have 4 of them.
Void will manage to avoid the urge to say, "Is that it?"
He will seem pleased with your deference to his intensely awing power.
But I guess also Shadow Shinobi, I don't quite know what his powers are either. We've seen
True.
the portal thing, but that's probably just one of many tricks up his.
Correct. And I will totally say you can attempt to ask him to borrow it. Obviously, you're at the point where you have some adult moves because of how many advancements you have, but still your version of powers will not be as complete as say Shinobi, who's been mastering his whole life.
Yeah, I think we got into it in the last session, but I kind of got put out the idea that he's kind of, the powers that he borrows, he's just going off of what he's seen in terms of how well he's able to control them.
Right. So you've seen from Shinobi shadow clones and the teleportation. You've I don't know that you've seen Emily's dads do anything, but she would know their powers, right?
Yeah, I would know them.
Do you know them? Because I'm not sure I remember.
I have them written down. Hugo has vocal manipulation as like vibrations, and actually Scott does not have any powers.
So you can be louder if you need to be. And you've seen Fourfold, and you've seen what's her name? Titania's dad, who just has wings.
I think I can fly anyway just by giving myself wings, so that's not super pertinent.
Yeah, but they don't look as cool as his wings.
That's true.
But yeah, that's for you to ruminate on and plan your strategy accordingly. But we'll go ahead and say that move on to dawn of the next. So you guys will rally and be woken up, and Fourfold's there along with coming out of his shadow dimension. Shinobi will also be there as it's time to organize this final showdown. Emily, your dads have come along with Titania's father as well as along with them. They've been had a couple of days to hug and cry some stuff out, so maybe he's a bit in a better emotional place.
Is Titania there with him at all, or is she like totally avoiding any kind of contact with him?
Anywhere, any panel of the comic that would have him in it would be closely followed by one with her somewhere very much else. And actually, there will be someone else alongside Shinobi and Fourfold that is being supported by an IV stand, and that's Silent Vigil.
God,
I
I
forg-
knew it was gonna happen.
Oh, I forgot about him. What does he do again?
Sorry, you said what is his ability?
Yeah.
He can be quiet.
I'm getting a divorce.
That's okay.
Hmm.
But no, Silent Vigil. He's got like a muffle aura he can do. So he can be silently vigilant. But
I feel like with our group that would prove almost useless.
well, to be fair, actually Emily has probably a more flexible version of that power anyway. But yes, so Shinobi will meet up with you, Void Spawn, and check and are you sure that your people will be arriving at the scheduled time? Much rides on their performance and distraction.
Well, if they left on time, they should be getting here on time. I don't see any reason why they would delay.
Well, I hate to rely on outside influence, unfortunately, and he'll kind of cast a gaze around at the motley crew you've got assembled. We do not have many options for allies. So, I believe we have discussed previously that your group will be best suited for a infiltration of the building. Is this correct?
Yeah.
I believe I should be able to borrow some powers that will assist with that.
Then we shall proceed as planned. The professional heroes will assault the front of the building and hopefully draw as many of the heroes inside to its defense as possible. As you know, dealing with all of the heroes in the city that are under Young's control is a losing battle. We will only be able to hold them for so long.
I'm sure he'll have contingencies planned for your involvement as well.
Unfortunately so, but to our benefit, Apology's powers are not very good against mine, we shall say. But in the meantime, it will be up to your group and whatever allies you have to achieve some objective, children. Whatever you are able to do. I mean, If you can rescue Dr. Mobius, that can put a stop to some of this nonsense, but the true prize would be to take out Dr. Young.
I'm also not entirely sure if disabling or destroying the tower will put an end to his control or not.
It won't, but it'll probably piss him off. You know,
Yes,
make him stagger his concentration at least.
If nothing else, he will not be able to give new orders, which could open up opportunities to shift our tactics around theirs.
yes. Destroying the tower, as with rescuing Dr. Mobius, will give us time. But the only way to truly end this farce would be to somehow disrupt Young's control of the rest of the heroes. If the tower can do that, you may try your best. Very well. We will proceed to our checkpoint then. Is there any last assistance that we professional heroes can provide to you?
Please don't die.
You can ask how many have you taken out. All of them except for this one should be destroyed.
And Belladonna destroyed her own, and we destroyed 2 others.
This is true. But Shinobi will look down at you, Jalim, and nod. I do not intend to, young one. I have survived more than this.
Alright. Well, let's get this done.
This is no time like the present.
Indeed.
All right. So you got they break. Emily, your dad's probably briefly visit with you and make sure you're Are you super duper sure you want to do this?
In a typical teenage fashion, she's probably, yes, Dad.
You know, it's probably a bit of back and forth of it's like super dangerous, and you're like, yes, I know, Dad.
Even better.
It goes off.
Like the video game prompts where it's like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you really sure you want to do this?
Are you sure you really want to do this? There's no going back.
But surprisingly, once they do part from you, not sure how much it would affect Emily, but you do see that they don't leave after seeing you off. They're walking side by side with Fourfold and the other heroes heading to the front line. But yes, so you guys go to meet up with whatever assigned place you wanted to find the Blindfold Gang at. Do you have a place in mind, or just somewhere near the build?
Nothing particularly springs to mind. Probably would want to avoid the ice cream shop. I feel like that's probably become known as a hangout spot now. Just not so near that they might get caught.
So I'm gonna pull a bit of DM fiat and say you meet back up at the same I forget what we called it, but the same burger place from last.
Yeah, we could do that.
6 guys.
What was that?
6 guys.
6 guys. Okay, that took me a minute. Why can't it be 5 3/4, guys?
I mean, it could be. You make the rules, DM.
5 guys, a baby, and a funeral.
Oh no. But you meet back up there, and it looks almost like a school field trip bus has let out because there's just a bunch of elementary and middle school aged kids crammed into like two booth tables, all with like milkshakes and fries and this giant pile of fries in between like four of them going on. But Pinky will wave at you from the head of one of the booths and wave you over.
I'll head over and explain kind of the gist of the plan, but I don't want to give too many details just in case there are eyes or ears that we're not aware of, and basically say that I'm going to be borrowing Virus's powers to hopefully help disable the security systems in the building.
Do it.
Oh, just hers? Well, I guess I didn't need to bring us all out here, but sure. Have any advice for him, Vi? And you just see this little like elementary school girl look up at you and kind of cock her head a bit and say, "Don't get lost."
What does it look like in there? Just so I'm prepared.
It's really bright, and there's like a lot of lines and some zeros.
Alright, I shall do my best to not get lost.
And she'll just look up at you, and I guess you'll like pat her on the head to do the
Yeah.
take her pat. Well, you have gained for the time being anyway the power to go to the internet.
Though I would be to like kind of respond to what she was saying earlier about bringing everybody else out. I'll say I would be curious to try to see if I could control more than one power at a time. I don't know if this is the best time for experimenting.
Well, suit yourself. We are always here to help our senpais.
I very strongly hope it won't be needed. I'd just as soon not have you lot put in danger.
Well, just go do your job and make the city safe so the younger generation can grow up big and strong.
Take a page out of Fourfold Justice's playbook and do a really obnoxious flex before walking out.
As you
Oh,
do
no.
that, Julian will just like smack you in the back of the head with a paper fan she just has. And it disappears in the next panel.
Okay then.
And she just says,
Hammer
"Don't-
space.
Don't do that again."
Alright, so you guys make it to you'll get towards the base of the H2A building, but not too close, and as of yet the confrontation does not appear to have started, but you have some options for disabling security, and yeah, we'll start with we'll start with that. So
Okay.
do you would like to internet jump at
That'll be the plan, yeah, hopefully.
Alright, well, I'll just ask you to do a Unleash Your Powers roll and we'll see how it goes.
Hey.
Pretty well.
You're a super freak.
I actually like how it's a 1 and a 6. That's funny.
Yeah.
But,
Thanks, Roll20.
well, you will, I'm gonna say your entry point could be like your phone or something, unless you had something else in mind.
Yeah, it's probably a good bet, because I don't think we'd be able to really get right up to the building unnoticed.
So, about what she described is about what you will experience. Imagine sort of like in those old cartoons about how people that would go into the TV and it would just be white all over, but there's just pathways made out of ones and zeros and colored lines looking like, fiber optic cables just shooting around different places that you can kind of follow if you try. There's the semblance of topography here, but it's a definitely disorienting experience.
Hoping for some sense of mirroring the real world. I suppose I'll look around for a large tower structure.
And yeah, the colored lines do kind of make up sort of a cityscape type thing. And every so often, I'd say, where there's like a phone or security camera or computer, there may be like a little outlet that you can look out from, sort of see the real world from inside the TV screen type of effect going on.
I suppose I'll use those to kind of get my bearings and start making my way in the direction where I know the H2A building is.
And I mean, it's a, you know, state of the art modern building, center of the Hero Force. I mean, there's cameras and computers and, state of the art systems. I mean, the whole place is lit up like a Christmas tree.
I think probably the best bet would be looking. You said there's on my end of it, visual plugs that I can look through to see the real world.
Yeah.
So look for an area that has like a lot of those grouped together in a close knit group, because that's probably going to be either like a server room or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I will give you. There's one of two places that look like that. One higher in the building, or one more at the first floor of the building.
Void's not familiar with Earth customs, but he's familiar with basic kind of tactical knowledge enough to figure security stuff probably wouldn't be on the first floor, so he'll go for the one that's higher up.
And what you'll look out of is sort of like you said, like a computer room lab type area. Not the security office, which is what the other one was, but not really a server. But yeah, there's a lot of computers here. This is like the room in the Death Star where they messed with the controls going.
Suppose just because I'm not quite sure myself what I'm looking for in character, I'll try to exit out there and see what's on the computer.
Mostly diagnostic-y type things. There is some security system information here. Some maybe not the full spread, but some of the camera feeds you can look at. Information from the H2A and their archives, that kind of thing.
Not seeing anything. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'll see if there's any. Because you said there were some security camera stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see if Mobius is visible on any of them.
That's a good question. I think he would be routed into the main security system. I think that Young wouldn't have him on a private camera. So yeah, I would say you probably could see him.
Well, that'll give me a rough idea of where to head, I suppose. But for now, I guess I'll head back down to that other hub I saw, figuring, well, if this isn't it, then the security controls must be the other one.
All right. While we're doing that, back outside, was there any last preparations or things that the rest of you wanted to take out real quick? Gonna chug some Young drug.
Not yet.
Alrighty. Well, okay, so before you jump out of this one, sticking your head sort of through this porthole, this does look like the security office, and there are definitely like security guards that are in there. I mean, like the Hearthstone commercial, probably they're mostly lazily looking around and playing video games instead of paying attention to the monitors, because who attacks the H2A building? But they are there.
This is all like a pretty open room.
Yeah, I mean, think, 3 walls, like kind of a half cube of security camera screens and a couple chairs in front of.
Probably wouldn't be able to pull off my original idea, which was to come out looking like a security guard, because they would still see me emerge from the computers.
Yeah. I mean, you could try.
So you know what? I might be able to. Is there? I'll just like go to the next nearest outlet to this room and come out looking like one of them.
Okay, yeah, that can be done. You'll come out just. This is the first floor. We'll say like some overflow computer, and you're able to come out mostly undisturbed and transform into a security guard apparently.
I'll head over to where I would feel like, I guess, where the security office is based on where I was, and if there's any kind of security lock on it, I'll try and do that the old-fashioned way.
Actually, it's just like a door, almost like a broom closet you can go into pretty easily.
I guess I'll open the door and try and bluff my way into getting access to the computers.
Let's see. You walk in and yeah, I'd imagine you immediately start getting into character of shifts up, time for rotation, something like that. But as you walk in, there's no like immediate response from them. They're just continuing to tap away and not pay attention to anything really.
As discreetly as I can, I'm going to check and see if they have golden rings around their eyes. Pretty sure the answer is
They do. There's golden rings around their eyes, but what you'll also notice is that their eyes are totally bloodshot, like all dried out, uh, and they're not blinking.
so. These are like out of character. These are like the neighbor that was kind of just left sitting on the corner.
Correct.
Nice. Then yeah, I'll just go ahead and start messing around with the computers, seeing if I can turn off the alarms and maybe try and clear a path to where Mobius is being held.
Yep. Alarms and stuff are not hard to turn off, and I believe, unless I'm remembering incorrectly, with Highlight, we established that Mobius was like a level above the president's office, so like at a fourth floor type thing. Solitary room, think kind of like an attic bunker type area, but there's only one way there, and it's the elevator that is attached to Young's office.
Once the alarms are out, I'll go ahead and call my friends and let them know. I guess I'll probably try and make my way to a back door to let them all in as discreetly as possible. They all just see a security guard standing there.
What did you do?
Well, I borrowed Virus's power to get into the internet and found my way into the building that way. Made myself look like this, although it turns out not really necessary. The guards are basically kind of like that neighbor that was dehydrated and malnourished and not really all there.
Hmm.
It definitely seemed that as time has gone on, Young has had a harder time controlling everybody individually. Think like an RTS player whose macro skill is decreasing. He's just like leaving some units alone.
Hmm. Well, he's making it easy, so let's keep going.
From my understanding, there is an elevator that goes directly to his office that also goes to where Mobius is being held. Probably best not to take the elevator itself, but to use the shaft. Otherwise, he will know that we are moving through it.
Right.
Alright, so just to establish the fiction here, you've got your group of people with you. I will say he's not the as Dan is not here, he can't act for him, but I will say that Highlight is in fiction with you. Muscle Fox will be with Sheep, brother to brother there. And I will say Titania and Mero. Titania didn't want to come to all this because it's dangerous, but I'd say for now that she will be, that those two will be with you as well.
I was going to say, I'd be really surprised if she went with the front group, given that her dad was there.
Yeah.
I would say that if she had been able to talk Mero into staying behind totally, they probably both would have, along with you if she could have talked you out of it.
I'm not even a hero. I'm just a scientist.
Yeah, well, she's just a girl that doesn't like heroes.
So that's what it is.
Well, you guys are able to get in. It's fairly unoccupied as you're going in this back door, and you'll realize that part of that is because while you've been internet hopping and stuff, it seems like the distraction at the front gate has broken out, and there's definitely sounds of conflict from that direction, but the first floor is mostly empty.
So I vote we move away from where the fighting is and just head up. Because the moment we get Young or we corner him, we can shut down this tower. What do
I
you
didn't
guys
see
think?
anything while I was in the internet of things. I didn't see anything that seemed like it would be the tower itself, right?
Else, the tower's not on the internet, so I would say you wouldn't have
Yeah, I wouldn't
seen that.
figure.
That said, again, he's not here, but Highlight's character did see the tower when he's been brought here before. It's in that second floor ballroom where that dance was so many sessions ago.
Don't want to 100% speak that he would speak for him that he would tell us that, but I'm guessing he probably would. It doesn't seem too close to the chest on that one.
I would assume, but also, yeah, I'm not sure without him here, but I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt and say that he'd share that.
Well, do we want to split our forces, try to confront Young, free Mobius, and destroy the tower all at the same time, or try to do one at a time?
I have a way of confronting Young. And she pulls out her oh so patented 6-shooter. Just one round of this and done.
I feel like he will probably have at least some protections in place, especially given that there's a battle outside at the moment.
Well, if anything, he's probably out there with the battle, but in the off case he's not, we just wreck the tower first. I think the tower is our biggest priority right now.
And actually, there'd probably be a couple panels of the comic, not that you guys necessarily see, but for the reader, of the like battle going on outside, and it's what happens when 30 pro heroes fight back and forth. I mean, there's T-Rexes moving around, like some other game I've seen recently, and lightning bolts shattering, and just all kinds of craziness going on. And honestly, a lot of what the forces on you guys' side are just tons and tons of shadow clones just pouring into almost like the Mines of Moria against the other the pro heroes that are being mind controlled.
Well, I think we can, if we are going to try to do multiple objectives at once, perhaps the animals and Marrow as our bruisers can go try to destroy the tower, while the rest of us head up to free Mobius and confront Young.
Yeah. What do you say, Muscles? You up for breaking something?
Fox will look at his brother and say, I do not wish to be separated from the pack, but if our strength and swords are required somewhere, then we will levy them.
Just think of it like a car.
Yeah. And then she'll just like give that look. She'll give a sideways glance at Emily at mentioning that. Oh right. Oops.
Ryukin types in chat, we will flex our muscles for good. So Cat or sorry, not Cat, but Fox and she look semi-prepared to go ahead and do so. Marrow will seem a bit more reluctant and look between Titania and you, Voids.
I'll acknowledge that and say, I'll keep her safe, don't worry.
Better not drop the ball after all this time. And he'll just turn and walk with the muscles.
Void just takes a moment to look at his hands. I had a ball?
Figure of speech.
Titania will then kind of tug on your sleeve, Void Spawn, and say, do you just want to go up to Mobius, or could I help?
To be honest, I'm still not entirely sure how your powers work.
Well, I can't use it much. It burns like all of my energy to do even one wish. But you know how in games, or stories, the wish, you get what you want, but it never is how you asked for it.
Like, I believe the monkey's paw was one such fable, right?
Ew, monkeys, no. But yeah, something like that. So I ask for something, and my powers do their best to make it happen in the way that takes the least amount of effort possible. So when I asked to not be found by you in the sewers, it made me invisible. And you know how that happened.
I do remember being slapped.
She'll just pout at you.
Perhaps, if there is a way to easily get Mobius from where he is being held back to our allies outside, that might be our best bet.
She'll think on it a bit, and I can try, but just no, like I said, it won't be exactly how I ask for it.
Void'll look to the others. Should we try it that way? Might turn out for the best if we can focus all of our attention on Young then.
It would help. But the thing is, I'm more worried about the double-edged nature of this wish power. You know?
There is also the fact that she would be very drained, and we would have to keep an eye on her safety as well.
True. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, and you think you can like work out the fine details, by all means, go for it.
She'll look around a bit and say, she'll just look over at you, Jalim, and like snap in front of your face. Vending machines.
What?
Fetch.
This will go over well.
Muscle Sheep goes to fetch a vending machine.
And Jalim is just very confused.
She make me a danger roll.
Oh no.
Oh. So within the panel, Sheeb comes back up the stairs of the hallway with a vending machine in his arms. But there's something dragging on the floor because the power cord that was connected to the wall has been removed from the wall, along with a big part of the wall.
Well, I suppose it can still be opened the old-fashioned way. Void will just like shape one of his hands into a crowbar and try and pry the front of it open.
Sure enough, a bounty of honey buns and other sugary snacks are yours for the taking. And she'll, Titania will just nod. All right, keep those on hand. I'm gonna need them. And get close to me. I don't know what's gonna happen with this. But
Void will go ahead and once again, taking the literal words as they are, like just have like a bunch of tiny hands grab one each of the buns.
nice. So you have a bouquet of honey buns.
Indeed.
So, Sheeb, were you and Fox and Mara gonna go take out the tower? Okay, so you guys can start making your way that way, and the rest of the group will kind of crowd around Titania, and she'll just kind of, you'll see her like think really hard, like trying to find the best way to phrase it, and she'll say, I wish that Mobius and us were out of the H2A building.
What?
And what happens is instantaneous, or no, it happens right away, but it doesn't happen quickly. For a moment, all your vision like gives to you is just an overwhelming field of glitter and bright shiny stuff of fairy dust. It's like you're on the wrong inside of a glitter bomb.
That's gonna take weeks to wash off.
But the moment your vision clears, you're outside. There's wind. You're on the roof of the H2A building, along with a very concerned Dr. Mobius still in his cot on the roof.
Well, that certainly worked.
And
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was saying, like you get up there, you're all kind of still in a power circle, and then Titania just stumbles and falls flat on her face.
Oh, I think I starting to see the drawback. As she goes to pick Titania up.
immediately start tearing the wrapper off of one of the honey buns to hand it to her.
Ryukin, you can probably respond better to this than me, but with someone that's having like was it hypoglycemic shock when they have like super low sugar?
E. I think that's right.
Yeah, hypoglycemic. So yeah, she's just like kind of out of it, like hanging out, very very much out of commission and in need of honey. But Dr. Mobius will kind of start to slowly pick himself up from the cot, and he'll just look at the group of kids next to him and say, how?
Would you like the short answer, the long answer, or the answer that makes no sense?
I think I'd appreciate an answer that made sense.
An ability that apparently manifests in the form of a wish, but requires a lot of blood sugar to work. Apparently, this little one, as she holds up um, Titania, needs a lot of sugar for her reality bending powers to work.
In the spirit of anime, she totally has like the swirly pinwheel eyes.
Also, I totally picture as you gesture to her that you're picking her up by like doing like the boxing announcer holding the resilient fist up into the air.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost unconscious, but I did it, fist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so actually, while we're out here, Void, can you call your ship?
Actually, I was planning on calling all of them now that we're out here.
I don't trust the airwaves right now. So I would just get your ship, get the good doctor on, and then get one of his kids on the line. Because we still have the tower to get rid of.
I will say at that point, as you look around, you guys aren't the only people that are on the roof.
Oh dear.
There's what look to be several pro heroes that were standing guard at certain points along the roofway, and they all seem to be kind of collapsed and on where they were standing onto the floor. And at that point, there'd be a panel of someone walking out from behind an air conditioning unit with a large hand blade scraping on the roof tile, almost like a praying mantis's glove.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. So that's the monkey's paw of this whole wish.
All right.
Doc, you might want to stand back.
Right, scene transition down to the second floor, and because all manga do this, there's totally like now a cutaway like schematic of the tower that has like your chibi heads and your different locations.
Mm.
But Sheeb, your brother, and Marrow have come into the room. This formerly like ballroom type area that has this just large metallic tower in it that's got like radio receivers and swirly satellite dishes going on, and looks menacing. Menacing enough to have Hiragana floating nearby. Yeah, sure. But in the interest of appropriately JoJoing the rest of this, there's definitely a few pro heroes that have been left behind. All of them just happen to be absurdly muscular men with revealing outfits.
Are there any plants on the roof?
Let's see. I'm gonna say there probably will be some, but let's have let's see what Ryukin will do with his JoJo fight. Alright. Step 1, fight our way through. Step 2, destroy the tower. Step 3, flex. So I definitely imagine she and Fox flexing to start the battle off with the three pro heroes responding in kind and flexing menacingly, and Marrow just kind of face palming and like, why did I sign up to go with this group of people? There will be a grand melee, and just because trying to keep it simple, where you may do the honors of a mass combat check, however you so please. And I'm sure you have with your playbook certain moves that will affect an engagement type of role. You can use that for this too. This is the point when you go back and put the Jeopardy theme in the video, Rainbow.
That's copywritten.
I'll find a bootleg version of it.
Play it backwards.
I hate myself. I downloaded that song. I didn't even use it. There we go. It's on now. Deal with it. Okay, we have a Be the Monster roll to unleash his feral instincts. Let me see what that does specifically. Okay, so you're basically rolling a like supercharged intimidation type effect. Okay, so you're literally gonna try and do the full JoJo thing of win the battle with flexing. Gotcha. So feel free to roll. Of course it works. Alright, so you will have to pick you'll have to choose 1 to 2, depending on how much you want to go into this, of you feel like more of a monster afterwards, so mark a condition, or you hurt someone or break something you shouldn't have, or you frighten others you had not intended to escape. Okay, so for our theoretical comic readers, there'd probably be some back and forth, kind of starting to fight between these pro heroes and the muscles. Fox maybe starts engaging a little bit, fisticuffs, and then switches into a sword form for Ryukin to for Muzzle Sheep to take up and fight back. Marrow's going full bone golem form and fighting with their guys, but Ryukin, I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Muscle Sheep will go full big boy dog mode. And do you want to use your power now, Ryukin? Not yet. Gotcha. So you're just striking a impressive figure then, with full power, big beefy dog boy with a shapeshifting katana, and it's enough threatening hiragana that you will be able to wrap up the conflict before too many punches are thrown, and the pro heroes are defeated, but their morale isn't super strong anyway, given they're mind controlled, and yeah, that's that. Marrow's a little bit caught off guard because you just kind of whipped ass, and you're mostly have been a peaceful boy up until now, so. Okie dokie. Onto the rooftop then. The doctor is out of his cot and seeming distressed. You lot are still supporting a mostly out of commission Titania, and an old friend is coming around the corner to visit you.
Do we have you to thank for what was there were you said there were 3 heroes that were kind of unconscious now?
Yeah, that's a good number.
Do we have you to thank for these 3 being like this?
Yeah, Praying Mantis comes around and stands in his traditional pose in front of you all and says, "Yeah, that's right. It's pretty easy to paralyze a bunch of goons when they can't think for themselves."
Well, now you see what a service we did for you by convincing you not to work for Young and become just like them.
Well, I'm not sure how much of a service you did at the time, but if it prevents me from going all blank face like them, then maybe it was worth it to get my head kicked in. He'll look around at the rest of you, Jalim, and highlight if he was here to speak for himself, and he'll say, "I don't see the brat that hit me with you."
Out of character, who was it that hit him?
Marrow.
Yeah, he's off doing something else.
Well, shame. One thing I wanted was to maybe hit him back for settling the score, but well, shit.
That can be arranged later, once all this is said and done. You know, let you two just slug it out. Why not?
Yeah, we'll see. I intend to get as far away from here as possible. So,
Good job.
roof's yours. I call that even Stevens. I don't owe a bunch of 8-year-olds for saving me anymore. So, toodle.
And as he leaves, you're like, wait, 8-year-olds? What the? Oh, for the. And she just pinches the bridge of her nose.
Void, who, mind you, still looks like a security guard, will just like snap to and give him a salute and say, "Until next time."
Yeah, he's like getting up on the like whatchamacallit, the like edge of the roof, the part that comes up a couple. I'm forgetting that, I'm blanking on the name of that, but anyway, he's like standing up on the edge of the lip of the roof, and he just looks back and shakes one praying mantis blade at you. Don't get me wrong, I still am a villain, still hate you guys, but try not to get your asses kicked. And he blinks and teleports off.
Well, we have one thing out of the way, but we should probably get the good doctor out of here first. Void, your ship.
Well, if communication is a concern, I can always hop down and retrieve it myself. It shouldn't take too long.
I mean, can't you autopilot it up here?
Slowly, and the signal may be detected.
Oh. Alright, in that case, let's see if I can at least bind those other heroes for a bit. And Julim will just unleash her powers to create like binds to just tie up the other heroes.
Yeah,
Like
it's
brainwashed heroes.
totally fine. Like I said, there's probably some sort of rooftop plant, so you're able to do that. They're pretty much, not out cold, but they're fully paralyzed and mindless anyway, so they're not putting up much of a.
Right. So I guess we just hold position until Void's ship comes in.
Mobius is kind of looking around at you guys, and he's as confused as would seem humanly possible. And he'll even go as far as to say, I wasn't intending to be rescued, children. How did you find me?"
Blame Sparky over there. And she points to Highlight. Yes, his name is actually Sparky. Highlight's just a stage name.
I should have known. You never trust a child to keep a secret. Right. Well, I hope you kids have a plan to stop Dr. Young and his assistant from destroying all of us.
Wait. He's gonna destroy everything? I thought he was just like a power-hungry dick for the sake of being a power-hungry prick.
Dr. Young, very much so. Total, control freak, that one. But, apology, bit more of a loose cannon, and I'm afraid once I escape, his restraint may wane.
If I remember correctly, he's a bit of a firebug, right?
Well, when your power allows you to become the manifestation of a sun deity, I suppose anyone would.
Is there a water? Asking the DM, is there a water tower here?
The rule of the game says there can be if you want there to be.
And she just like gets like the biggest shit-eating smirk on her face. I have an idea.
Okay, so were you calling your ship Azure?
I think I was going to head down to it and pilot it back up, because the way that we had settled the fact that it needs me to move was that if I do remote it, it's going to be very slow and unwieldy.
So you're gonna just go pick it up at the curb?
Basically, yeah, just kind of like hang glide from the rooftop down to wherever it was that I had parked it. But I am definitely going to keep Titania with me if I do that, because I did say I would keep an eye on her, and I'm not getting on Nero's bad side.
Alright, yeah, you're totally able to do so. There's like probably an homage to Batman, like type of choreography where you're like gliding down wing style with her like princess carrying your arms, and probably from your vantage point there'd be another shot of the battlefield going on of more than just this pro hero versus pro hero action stuff, and Emily's poor dads trying their best to keep up.
I would make a conscious effort to not have the wings look like her dad's.
Gotcha. But you are able to get to the ship, and you set her down briefly while you kind of rummage around and go to insert yourself into the engine as you become your ditto form.
Yep. And then take off into the afternoon, I guess, sky at this point, because we probably slept in a bit given how late we got to bed.
Yeah, I'm imagining this is definitely past lunchtime. So the ship will touch down on the roof pretty easily. You guys are able to file in, and if you wanted, you guys could blow this popsicle stand now.
Well, there's still young to deal with. I don't know that
And his tower.
they're going to make much progress on the ground. Yes, well, hopefully we will get a call soon in terms of the tower. I'm assuming Marrow, out of character, I'm assuming Marrow has a phone.
Yeah, I'll say for sure. Yeah, there probably would just be a single panel interspersed there of there's like the initial 3 heroes that they fought that are now like on the ground surrendered, but there's like the knocked out bodies of like 4 or 5 more pro heroes that are starting to form like a circle around the tower that just the muscles are like in a karate showdown with.
Hmm.
They're dealing with waves upon waves of enemies, and like Marrow's on top of the tower like, which wire do I cut?
All of them.
The one that sharpens your sword.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh no, cut the gray one.
Oh,
No, the other gray one.
Okay, so in the ship though, what would you like to do?
If I can use the ship to send out a encrypted signal, I'll go ahead and try and gauge where the rest of my fleet currently is.
Alright, as soon as you send that signal out, you'll immediately get like your ship will be hailed as a message comes to you from the fleet that is currently holding position in orbit.
Well, I kind of left it to Shadow Shinobi to hone out the finer details of like when they're supposed to come in, so I probably would just confer with them about what the actual plan is.
Well, when you first open the line, what you are greeted with is the disapproving face of your parent.
Sounds about right.
There'll probably be a quick exchange of shouting, which, because of the glory of having a bio ship, the rest of you are treated to on the loudspeaker. Yeah.
If you were outside the ship to see it blush, that might actually be possible.
So wait,
Yeah.
your ship is blushing?
I mean, not physically, but you know how like anthropomorphization kind of a thing. Like there's just like you can tell the ship is blushing even though it's not.
Yeah, probably like the first line is like, our scanners show that you are currently on the battle lines. How dare you? You know, something very scientific like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They don't like just like curse at each other. It's all very subdued and passive aggressive.
I believe the terms of our bargain were for you to not take place in the upcoming hostilities, Kazri. Something like that is your name. I'll remember it one day.
Well, it's the last day to remember that it's Xadisk, like static, basically.
Kazatisk, gotcha.
I'll just reply that they're not the boss of me, and
They don't
I'm
pay
an
your
adult.
subs.
They don't pay
I'm
your
an adult,
sub.
and I'll do what I want.
They spend a few months on Earth and suddenly they're developing a individual consciousness.
Tisk tisk.
these silly backwater planets and their rebellious nature.
Especially those teenagers. Ugh.
But yeah, you can totally ask them to commence the fireworks if that would be befitting of your plan.
I think ideally at first, maybe just send a couple in to help reinforce where it's probably starting to turn into a losing battle on the outside. I'm going to save the majority of the fleet for once we know that the rest of the team is out and safe so that they don't die in a collapsing building in case it gets a little too rough.
All right, gotcha. So that will go through. There'll be a tense, disapproving silence from your parents before affirmative, Void Spawn. Or no, they wouldn't call you that. Affirmative, Gazatisk. The fleet will engage on your mark, and believe us, there will be repercussions at the conclusion of this maneuver.
I'm sure there will be.
Line goes quiet, but there'd totally be a really out of place sick shot in one of the panels of just suddenly the battlefield being bright and then with giant spaceship shadows over. Because you called in an alien fleet, and that's what happens with the outsiders movement of the troop.
Mm-hmm. It's a big one.
So this Jillim's just deadpanning. Okay, seriously, did he call the army or what?
Essentially.
So we should probably not be here, I think.
Yeah, Dr. Mobius is just like scribbling down like notes on the notepad, like, you think you understand heroes, and then something like this happened.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a hero. Come on, let's go.
I'm not a hero either. I'm just a scientist.
Yeah, we're just scientists.
God, they're totally okay. Not to bog down too much, there'd be like a very tiny text bubble from the couch that Titania's sitting on, of her still being groggy. That's just a very dreamy scientist.
Gross.
Yeah, I think for
Says
my
that-
next act, I'll go ahead and fly the ship around to the side of the building. Go ahead and power up that mining laser, see if we can clear a hole to where the muscles and marrow are fighting.
And wait, hold on. What did you say gross to?
Titania.
Aren't you also crushing on him?
Yeah, but it's gross that she'd say that. It was supposed to be a meme, don't worry about it.
Ah.
You just hear Void over the loudspeaker saying, "Why would anybody want to crush me?"
I'll tell you when you're older, Void. And then
Alright.
there's like a small side bubble. Wait, I don't even know how old he is.
Are Vilthors like dwarves? They're mature at 250.
No, it's more the opposite direction. Turns out Praying Mantis was right, and I'm 8.
Oh
Oh
god.
no.
But anyways,
Yeah, so mining laser to. There's just lots of. Up until this point, this has been kind of a grounded hero adventure, but suddenly there's spaceships and mining lasers digging into the side of a skyscraper. That's.
and at this, Jilem just like mentions everyone else. Okay, yeah, everyone off the building now. We probably shouldn't be here any longer.
Oh no, I would have gotten everybody in the ship before I did that.
Then in that case, Jilem will just like comment. Okay, overkill much? I mean, I'm a fan of that. I mean, no kill like overkill, but really?
There's like this panel of the laser digging into the glass window, and then you see through the hole that you made, and it's just the tower that's like sparking and smoking on top, with Marrow like pulling his hair out and the two muscles next to an even larger pile of hero bodies.
Why is Marrow pulling his hair out?
Because you sent this stupid trio to do something that required a tiny amount of intelligence.
That's what he's for. Or did we overestimate him?
I think we may have overestimated him.
I mean, he could have just called to help.
The gray wires are getting to him, but seeing you guys start to break through the window, he just like the mole is already there, so he just turns like his hands into the bone hammers and just starts crushing the top of it.
That's all you had to do.
Yeah. And at that, like, Julim just calls Mara, like, so, how you doing?
Why would you send smash smash colorblind animals smash smash to disarm a bomb?
I mean, that's what you're for.
I didn't finish smash high school.
Oh. You probably should have told us that before we sent you in the bomb defusing mission.
I must have skipped that class.
I mean, yeah, it's offered like in Basic Heroics 101. Right? And then she looks over at Emily. They teach that class, right?
Not public school.
Oh.
Nothing useful there.
Freaking
topical.
Freaking private sectors.
Out of character. If Void were more in tune with pop culture, he definitely would have made a joke about, haven't you played Trauma Center? Don't you know how to disarm a nuclear bomb?
But you guys are able to load the crew onto the ship with probably a last minute on the ramp up sheep punching a strangely buff and bald German guy a la Indiana Jones.
Okay. Alright, well, this worked. Almost too well. Like, I'm waiting for the punchline.
Once everybody's on board, I'll get over the loudspeakers, since we now have like kind of a large opening in the side of the building, and just announce, Young, if you're in there, you might want to get out, and then I'll put in the call for the rest of the ships to begin the
And you just get a look from Dylan saying, why would you tell him to get out?
Because we don't want to kill him?
He probably has a backup brain somewhere.
You call the virtual hammer down, or I guess extraterrestrial hammer down, and the rest of your fleet appears and starts to bombard the building. But, well, I'll actually say before they get to the bombardment part, as your ship starts to pull away and fly, pull off from the building anyway, there'd be a panel that shows like a glare coming from the rooftop now.
Well, I think that would be our friend Apologist.
Hey, take us to the water tower real quick. I got a surprise for him.
I will swing the ship in that direction.
So you guys start to close in on the roof, which would give you a pretty good angle then to see Apology, and sure enough, start to lift off from the roof a couple inches before he seems to just be hanging almost like in zero gravity before the person that he is suddenly replaced with a huge amount of fire, just like a sudden backdraft that just fills the space over the whole roof and just totally changes the lighting of the shot.
Ooh, I think he's mad.
Well, I don't know that he's ever fought an army before.
Yeah, but how much of your army or your brethren can claim they're flame or light or energy resistant?
Well, we do have shields, but probably not going to last especially long at an individual level.
But that's why I need you to take us to that water tower. And then
Do you
once
think
they get
water will work on him?
Nah, I got a special surprise waiting for him. And Jillian will just like get off the ship and just like stand on the water tower.
All right, you can do so, and there's definitely some action shots of Apology doing his best. He is kind of Human Torchy, just going around between the different ships. They're locking on to him, trying to shoot him out of the sky, but he's doing his best to one man take on a fleet of spaceships, and he's shooting gouts of fire at them that for now are not damaging the ship beneath, but he's making a solid effort anyway.
And then at this, Jillian will tell Void, hey, if your guys are taking damages or losses, tell them to back out. Last thing we need is your people to die for this, you know?
They are tactically trained. I'm sure they know to retreat when the time is right.
So what's your plan, Jillian?
So what she's been prepping is that same magic boost. That's not magic boost. That same like boost that she made a long time ago that she fed to those suits.
The one that kills them?
What? Yeah, but this time she kind of corrected the batch this time, so it doesn't kill, it just incapacitates. The condition is it has to be on an overdose. So
Okay.
So do you know where I'm going with this?
So let me understand if I read you correctly. It's still a power-up drug, but if you give them too much of it, they will, like, kind of get knocked out type of.
Yeah, and it triggers like a feedback. Like instead of benefiting them, it actually starts hurting them. You know?
Okay.
So, like in this case, if I'm reading the situation correctly, he would like start to burn himself.
Yeah. So he can go down in a blaze of glory all he wants, but that's on him. After all, she was just helping him.
All right. Well, so how are you intending to deliver said improvement?
By calling him out. She like, hey, Apology! You look like you're slowing down there, buddy. You need help? Like in a very taunting manner.
All right. This isn't your DM trying to be mean, but let's have you
work.
roll. No, let's have you roll to provoke him, and you'll have to roll a full hit for now, because it is going to be difficult to get him to hear you just shouting when he's like on fire fighting a spaceship fleet.
Okay. Then to help with that, could I ask Emily to at least amplify like my output?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I could do that.
And so that way it also plays to the whole media aspect of, hey, look, this person is trying to help their hero.
Okay, so Emily does a loudspeaker boost, and you get to call out. So that will affect the roll, but I'd still like to see you make the provoke check.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, because he would get aided, wouldn't he? Sorry.
And it's provoke?
Right, I think that's superior.
Superior. Is there a situation bonus or penalty to added?
No, I'll just say you'll make it on even a partial hit instead of the full one I was going to require, which doesn't matter. Thank you, Roll20, for always being consistently garbage.
To be fair, with this system, it's a bit easier for that kind of thing to happen because it's just a d6 instead of a d20.
Yeah.
Yeah, just sometimes the fluctuation of it gets me.
Like when you need it, it never comes, but when you don't need it, oh, thanks.
It seems like for this game, you guys will either like roll a ton of fails and just get like a lot of experience some sessions, or like pass everything some other session.
Mm,
Well, this is a good session to get passes on.
yeah.
This is true. So yeah, there's probably a shot then of Apology like doing like a heat circle fire spin thing around one of the ships, but he suddenly like stops and looks down at or as best as you can imagine, like the approximation of him looking down, because when he's full flame on like this, he's literally like fully made of fire. It's kind of hard to see the human features, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Less
was
Human Torch, more D&D Fire Elemental.
right. That's a good way of thinking about it. But you'll just look down at the water tower and sort of sinister grin and said fire element. I'm gonna say you got a heat blast coming your way, Jalen.
Um. Jilem will use this time to like
Reflect her action.
she'll start thinking like, probably not my smartest idea, but oh well. And then she'll drop a plant seed into the tank. To have it absorb as much water as possible. And so, what do I have to roll to take that hit without dying?
Alright, if you're just gonna hit it, like take it, then you'll need to roll to take a powerful blow.
Because then, out of curiosity, is the media following this? Is the media following his actions?
I would say they're probably not at first, but as the commotion on the streets began to pick up, there probably was some like breaking news, the heroes are fighting type of thing. And especially when the spaceships came down, like I'd imagine every cell phone camera and the like is pointed at the H2A building within several miles of a radius.
Alright,
It's your average everyday alien invasion.
The take the hit is just flat 2d6?
You can just hit the conditions button on the right.
Okay.
Well, hold on real quick. Because we have a heroic intervention. So, to be clear, where you can, it is Fox is the one holding it, and the shield is she. Gotcha. All right. So there's a panel as this fireball hurtles towards Jalem, and you start to try and take it like a champ. Muscle Fox jumps out of the ship, the ramp that's still open, holding a giant fluffy shield colored like a Shiba Inu.
What?
He just heroically leaps in front of you, takes the fire blast on the shield, and he calls out, "Your sword is not sharp enough for my brother." So,
Jillian is very confused, but alright then.
So, Ryukin, if you would roll to defend Jalem, I think that is plus Savior. Okay, this might be a good time for a team benefit.
Yeah, I'll expend a team to make that a pass. I mean, that's what I would do. I don't want to
Yeah. And you were already like, how were you intending to protect yourself in that situation?
Summoning up just like a huge, like, thick wall of vines.
But you said you wanted the plant to absorb like a ton of water, right?
Yeah. So, like, that would leave her mostly exposed.
Okay, so the vines weren't going to come from that plant.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, you will see Fox jump out with the shield, taking the brunt of the fire blast. It starts to push him like back towards you, so you just like, oh shit, and like send out some vines to brace the shield, and it's a very Dragon Ball Z power beam lock thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it just a couple of panels of both people screaming. Eventually, Sheep's shield holds and the fire abates.
Void is going to, seeing this taking place and Apology's attention turning to us, is going to contact the fleet to see if one of the ships closer to the ground can pick up Shadow Shinobi and bring him up here, since he said he was uniquely suited to fight Apollo.
Gotcha. So, you will be able to do that. One of the ships will tell you that, in fact, somehow the old man's already gotten on board, and they're coming as soon as they're able to.
What?
And in fact, well, so they say that they're still in the call with you, and then they say, "Sir, there's been a change of situation. He's teleported again." What? He was just here. And then you see Jalem, you look to your side, and Shinobi comes out of the shadows on the rooftop, disappears again, comes out of a shadow on top of your ship type of thing. He's like shadow hop.
Meanwhile, to my distressed comrade, I just say, "Don't worry, he does that."
And Jalem just like, would Jalem see this? Like him just jumping from shadow to shadow?
Oh yeah, totally. But as best he can, he is like a 67-year-old man, so it's an inelegant jump, but he is.
Mm. And then Jalem just like calls out, "Thanks for the save." Ugh. So I have a plan, and well, I'm waiting for Sunshine to show up himself.
Fox is now standing on the tower with you with the Sheeb shield, and he's just like, "My brother is most impressive, is he not?"
Yeah, remind me to give him a good scratch behind the ears.
You just like you see him like kind of hold the shield up, like tilting a bit. I think this should be his ears, like two flanged parts near the top of the shield.
And Jalem just like gives it like a very like, not like an awkward pet, but just like, a good pet. Like, thanks, Sheeb.
Tail appears and starts wagging. Shinobi is now on top of your ship, and he's looking up at Apology. "He will not be held for long. What is your plan, child?"
And she looks up back at the plant, and you're like, well, it's right there. And the plant is actually an apple tree, and I would assume at this point it's fully grown.
Yeah, for sure. It can totally be.
Okay, so this is gonna sound weird, but I need him to eat this apple. It's not poisoned, well, traditionally. And he might go a little crazy for a bit. if you can last at least 20, 30 seconds, my estimate, he will knock himself out. Yes, my plan is to give him the world's biggest sugar high. It'll come back to bite him. Besides,
Did you have a plan on how to convince him to eat it?
yeah, I mean, your fleet's giving him a hard time, isn't it?
But why would he accept help from us?
Well, and then all of a sudden, Jilem will just like pull out her pistol, and she'll shoot
Put the
Shinobi.
apple
in-
into it.
No, she'll shoot Shinobi in the shoulder. It's like, cause I'm betraying you. That's why. You honestly think I worked for you?
I can't help but imagine you putting the apple into the revolver.
I really wanted to see that too. Just like aim for his mouth and shoot an apple.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the role would be for that.
Roll your sanity stats.
It's the opposite of mundane.
So yeah, the last action was, in case it cut out, was Jalim pulling a fast one and shooting Shinobi in the shoulder, like, to just pretty much incapacitate him. And it's a live round.
So, there's the comic version of the Wilhelm scream as Shinobi just hits the roof of your ship void spawn.
And furthermore, you also see like a bunch of vines just grip your ship void. And like it's pretty much attempting to hold it in place.
This
And
gives
why-
me a really cool idea.
If you're catching on, then good. I'm not saying any more.
Don't think I am, but this is a cool idea all on its own. Shadow Shinobi is currently in contact with the ship, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And I'm basically the ship itself at the moment, right?
Yep.
Can I copy his shadow portal powers to teleport the ship out of the vine?
You need to touch a shadow. So how would the ship be in contact with a shadow to do that?
Well, technically speaking, with Apology up in the air, there's a gigantic shadow being cast underneath the ship.
Right, but aren't you in the air?
Wait, so to clarify, does he have to touch a different shadow than his own?
Shinobi, yes. See what?
So then so would Void in the ship in that case.
Yeah. Yeah, that scraps that plan then.
Well, okay. You can be on the side of the building that is opposite from this new sun that's up. If you drive into the side of the building, that'd be a shadow.
True, although now there's vines restraining me, so I'd have to power through that at least, but it
Yeah.
is an
Yeah.
option.
And though the thing is like, so that was how she was gonna get Apology down, by pretty much saying, yeah, I never worked for you guys in the first place. I worked for him.
Yeah, since I'm, in character, I'm not really fully aware of what she has planned. I don't believe she's betrayed us, but I don't really know what she's planning yet. I am going to try, I guess, to yeah, no, I don't know, because now it just occurred to me he's still on the roof of the ship. If I crash in the building and he's just been shot, he's probably going to fall off to his death. So that might not be a good idea. But I will try to power away from the vines anyway.
Okay, so just for my records then, are you going to copy his powers or not?
I will, with the intent to teleport once he can be safely retrieved.
Okay, so go ahead and make me. You have an alien tech roll, right? That has to deal with your freak powers and stuff.
Yes.
Make me that check, and I will contest it with Jalim's. Just you can unleash your powers to try and keep him there, Jalim.
Mm-hmm.
If you like are trying really hard to like keep them there. Does that make sense?
Well, like I'm trying to keep up. Yeah, I am trying to keep them there.
If you'd
So-
like to surreptitiously like lose and let them go, you can do that. Does that make sense?
Right. Like for the time being, like you see, like Apology would see Jalem like trying her damnedest to hold them in place.
So yeah, go ahead and do those contested rolls for me then.
And it's a free roll, you
Okay.
said?
Yeah, for you, I believe. I think for both actually.
Yeah, it counts as freak for me.
Okay.
That still works for me.
So you do your best to hold them on, to hold the vines on, but it's definitely like the Millennium Falcon's, pulling out of danger because we all know it's going to survive. The vines start to break apart and the ship starts to spin and peel out from away from the building. And Shinobi like holds on real tight to the roof of it, like trying not to fall off. I have a cat that's a little bit angry on my lap. He's doing a bunch.
Do I need to come rescue?
Please, he's doing a small munch.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
It is
you're
time
able,
to nom.
yeah, apparently. You are able to pull away though, Void Spawn.
But yeah, so Jalem would have just like let out an angry, like sounding huff. And as she like waits for Apology to show up.
I think Muscle Fox and Sheeb would still be on the rooftop with her because they jumped out of the ship.
There's totally a panel the second Jalim just like shoots Shinobi of just like a chibified fox like looking over the lip, but like you can just see his eyes over the rim of the shield like looking at Jalim.
And then Jalem just gives a look back that says, "Trust me on this." And she just pets the head again.
Right, so ship pulls away. Apology is still. I'll say he's starting to come towards you, Jalim, but at that point, you you probably would notice this too, Void, that a lot of the ships that were in this like upper area are like taking this moment to drift away, and you can see like heat marks and scorching on their hulls and stuff like that.
It stands to reason.
And so, but now to clarify for my sake, Void has gotten away, right?
Correct.
And then she would have smirked as like they broke out of the vines, like, alright, step 2's done. And then she just looks up and waits for Apology to show up.
Are you going somewhere, or what's your intent, Void?
Gonna see if anybody that's still in the ship can head up to grab Shadow Shinobi, and then I will try to pilot around a way where, like you were kind of suggesting before, because he's moving closer to the building, he's probably casting a big shadow now from the building, so I'll try to duck the ship in there and teleport somewhere else to try to get the drop on him.
Gotcha. Emily, would you like to go pull the bleeding old man off?
Sure. Sunny is coming back to you, by the way.
That's all right. But yeah, so you'll just there'd be a panel then of little freaked out Emily like crawling top of moving ship to help a fucking shot shinobi down. he's probably just like groaning a little bit in pain. It's just, I hate children.
If there were like an alternate universe Jalem that was also there to have been the one to rescue him, I like to imagine she would have said something to the effect of, "What, you couldn't dodge the bullet?"
Yes, actually. Like, come on, you're supposed to be Shinobi. That should have been Child's Play.
Okay, well, you guys are bringing him inside, and I'd also imagine that Dr. Mobius is a little bit like beside himself right now. What's going on with these wild children?
Does anyone tell him that she was, like, taught under Belladonna?
Probably not. I feel like that would just further encourage his ire.
But on to
The moment that he's inside, I'll duck the ship into a shadow being cast by the building and teleport a decent enough distance away that he might still think we're behind the building, and then I'll come up from a different angle to attack.
Gotcha. So the ship will just sort of like dive into like the side of the building or the ground on the side of the H2A complex, and like it just looks like it's literally about to crash, and just as it hits the shadow, it like starts to sink in. You know, there'd be like that midway shot where it's half disappearing into the ground, and then it just would zoom back up to the camera would zoom back to Jalem on the water tower.
And next to her, there is a fully grown apple tree.
As this fire elemental descends from the sky and is next to you guys on the water tower, and now that he's a few feet away from you, Jalem, this close, and you're a shield, so you'd feel whatever a shield feels, she, but Fox as well. It's like 20 degrees, 30 degrees hotter next to him like this. It feels like being next to like a roaring fireplace cranked up to 11.
Mm-hmm. Question for Sheeb. Does his shield form come with like a shoulder strap that she can just put on her shoulder? So she doesn't have to carry? Is Sheeb still here?
He might.
Oh, coughing fit.
Yeah, he might be AFK a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Apology is just sort of hovering there, and some of the fire starts to dissipate, and until it's more of that the man that you're familiar with, sort of floating there. Only his feet are still kind of wrapped in that fire as he looks around at you. Explain yourself.
Hey, long time no see. What, did you honestly think I worked with them this entire time?
Do you honestly think I spared an iota of significance to what you did or did not do, vermin?
Besides, Young has a better life insurance package, I should say.
He'll quirk an eyebrow at you. Changing sides at the last moment, then, after all the danger they've already put us through?
Well, you had to have a convenient double. You have to have. Hang on. Let me think this through. Okay. Shilem just sighs and thinks, what? I had to keep up the act somehow.
He'll just, rub his face, temple, like, at least you are more worth the effort than that scum highlight was, and the professor was so confident he would stab you in the back.
He could, but he doesn't have the spine for it. he's a showbiz type. Talks the talk but can't walk the walk.
Right, well, you'll see him just point like a double barrel finger gun at a fox and flick it, and an actual like gout of fire will hit the shield, and you'll just be a yelp from Fox as he like is knocked back a foot and then off the tower, falling off the building.
Hmm. And then at this point, she can only hope that Void can catch him. Because if she acts now, that's her entire cover. So internally, like there's a thought bubble saying, "Please, Void, catch him. I can't do anything right now."
Meanwhile, I'm not
Respect.
there, so that's really bad.
Or at least there's like another Shadow who can catch him.
All
But
right,
anyways,
Muscle Sheev, you are currently falling off the water tower with Fox. You guys just got yoded into the abyss. But yes, so he's looking at you now, Jalem. So, what do you expect?
nothing much. I mean, what? You pretty much rule the city by now. There's really not much to expect. I mean,
Did-
yeah, I mean, look, with that whole thing right there, you're pretty much the nation's golden boy. I mean, you did just save us from an alien invasion after all.
He shrugs and at this point touches down onto the roof of the building. He just beckons at you to and points towards the stairs down. Come on, and for your sake, you better have brought the reincarnation bloom, or the professor's gonna be mightily pissed.
Yep. What do you think this thing is? She gestures to the tree. She plucks an apple and says, like, the seeds are what the reincarnation is. I know it's tacky, but it's the only seed I had on me at the time.
You see him shrug, and he could not give less of a shit because he's already down the stairs.
And she just takes it and goes down.
All right, Sheep, you were attempting to catch your brother on the way down. Gotcha. So, through your brother telepathy, essentially, Fox just sort of rolls and is kind of sitting in the shield like a sled almost, as you guys are able to touch down, and it's still a rough fall. I mean, if you guys weren't superhuman animal experiments, you might not have gotten off so okay, but you don't splat as you guys just crumple into a heap at the bottom of the building. I
I'm just
will.
tossing this out here because it was a mental image that popped into my head. If anybody here has watched Advent Children, there's a scene when Cloud is fighting Sephiroth where they're at the old Shinra building and Cloud jams his sword into the side of the building and stands on it to stop himself from falling. I was picturing Sheeb and Fox switching who's who so that Fox changed into the sword and Sheeb could do that, just stab into the building and stop them from falling.
Nice.
Would you like to do that instead? No. Okay. I will ask you. How many conditions do you have left, Ryuk? For the stream, Sheeb is not that clever, according to his pilot. Okay, so this might actually be kind of a big deal. Can you roll to take a powerful blow? If this goes badly, you could take. Ooh, that's partly bad.
How much team do we have left to lower that?
You can't lower with team.
Oh. Well, shit.
Yeah, okay, that's one of the options. You take 2 conditions. So, there are other options for that, but for this scene, I'm going to say that you take the 2 conditions, which should mark all 5. Correct me if I'm wrong, which means for the first time in this campaign, someone's knocked out of this scene.
I think Void was knocked out through other means once, but yeah, that's the first through condition.
Right, so that's the first time that an enemy has technically defeated someone, and that enemy was the crown.
Damn crap.
Sounds about right for our group, to be honest.
Okay, where did you want to shadow shift out of Void Spawn?
Well, I'm assuming it would have been when Apology was still outside, right?
Yeah, I assumed this was like an instantaneous jump.
Could I have shifted to above one of the larger ships that's still hanging out in the sky, given that he would be casting the shadow up from that?
Yeah, I would say so. So, one of the ships just kind of has a small ship heart attack as its sensor suddenly detects something very close to it.
Don't mind me coming through.
Yeah, you are able to hang out up there.
And, of course, we see Apology making his way into the building, so that gives up the opportunity of a sneak attack, but I will fly back down towards the building and I guess try to see what the heck happened to our 2 animal companions, since they're no longer on the roof.
Yeah, the ship probably like furthering the humanization of it. There's like question marks above it when it looks down, and it kind of is like looking around the building like a dog, and you'll eventually find um, Muscle Fox with his head stuck into the topsoil, crumpled into a heap, and a shield that's just slowly rotating very, very gently on the ground as well.
I will. Does that area seem clear of the fighting?
Yeah, they fell like to the side, but fighting's still semi-close, and actually, it's without the spaceships that were still helping, things might have gotten really bad for a little bit because all of the shadow clones that we're fighting are currently gone.
Wonder why that is. I'm going to land in a way that interposes the ship between them and the rest of the fighting.
Yeah, gotcha.
On your way to pick them up, Emily, would Emily have seen like what have gone down?
Seen what specifically?
Like her Jilem's quote unquote imminent betrayal.
Yeah, I would say she was able to see pretty much anything.
Emily would get her phone would start ringing.
Okay.
It's from Jilem.
Okay.
Do you pick up?
Sure.
Hi, it's TurboTax.
And then you don't hear anything from the front line, but that's just Jilem's phone in her pocket, though she has the call on. So whatever she says to Apology and I'm going to assume Young, they would now hear and could potentially track through Void's little ship.
Little.
Well, I don't know how big your ship is technically.
It holds all of us and has a lab in it, and it's kind of a
Okay,
close really.
sizable ship.
I would say the interior is roughly the size of a decent sized RV.
Okay. But yeah, so with now that active, you could hear whatever Jalim is saying, and you could potentially track the call.
All right. Well, you have that line open now, Emily.
Okie dokie.
And speaking therefore, Jalem, you are led to probably where you expected to be led. You are taken to the third floor office, the head honcho's office, which currently has Dr. Young in.
Mm-hmm. And Jalim has like the apples that she plucked from the tree. Like she has them in a bag, like, and she just walks down like, oh, well, this is quaint.
To fully paint the picture, it's if you guys will remember, it was a while ago, before Christmas, but the ending card of the last issue had like Young ranting and raging, like pacing in front of his desk, and his daughter was just sitting in a chair off to the side, looking like totally placid. This was like after you killed their brother. But it's basically that same scene, just interposed now with you an apology walking in.
And Jalim would just say nothing as she just follows Apology into the room.
He plops down on the same couch that he sat at with when Highlight visited him. Immediately seems incredibly disinterested, but Young rounds on you and is immediately like, chest heaving, like pointing a quivering finger at you. What
What's up?
are you doing?
I mean, returning to work. I do work here. You technically didn't remove me from the records. You know, employee and all that.
Okay, you can be cheeky if you want to be, but this is not according to plan.
Yeah, I know. Then again, what plans typically survive first contact these days?
Where is Highlight? He is the one that I planted to betray you. Not you. You're incompetent.
Really? You put in a Hollywood kid? See, he can talk the talk, but like I told Apology over there, he can't walk the walk. I mean, come on. Really? He's an aspiring hero actor.
Of course, but that incompetence born of himself and the jealousy he feels towards the members of your group that are competent was all the motivation he needed to stab you in the back.
He didn't have the balls for it. He's that bleeding hero. He's that bleeding hero type, the bleeding heart or whatever the hell they're called these days. You know, whatever gets him the most Twitter views these days.
You just see him drumming on his desk. Dr. Mobius left the facility hours ago. Without him, my plans cannot be realized. What do you propose to do to fix it?
Well, Golden Boy over there told me something about a reincarnation revitalization seed or whatever.
He just looks around at you, seeming to search for something that he's not seeing, but Eve is her gaze has never left you. It's just been kind of uncannily, like dispassionately looking at you, and she just quirks her lips and says, "Did you bring him?"
No, but I can make one. After all, you're forgetting who taught me everything I know.
You
Besides, I already have
cannot.
a prototype right here. And she pulls out an apple, and she just like slides it over to Eve. The fruit isn't the thing, by the way, it's the seeds.
Hey, what are you doing meanwhile, those of you outside?
Probably attempting to provide medical attention to the injured and unconscious.
Doing a heckin' snooze, apparently. Yeah, Muscle Sheep is definitely KO. Fox didn't have the same number of conditions because he's an NPC, but I'll say for story's sake, he is also kind of KO'd from that fall. But you guys probably Emily is probably playing nurse and taking care of two knocked out muscle animals, a shot in the arm ninja, and still sugar hungover Titania.
Trying to triage the babies. And then Shadow.
Void will probably pop out of the ship for a moment to assist with Shinobi, since he probably, in his studies of Earth, at least got enough of an understanding of human anatomy that he could probably provide medical assistance. If nothing else, could easily use his fingers like tweezers to try to get bullet fragments out.
Gotcha. So you guys are doing a bit of medical attention then, but I'm assuming you have your phone still going.
Yeah.
So at least most of this conversation, it's definitely skewed where you're hearing Jalem's side more than you're hearing the others, but it's kind of doing that walkie-talkie thing of letting you guys hear where the conversation's going.
At the mention of the seed, I would probably head over to inspect the. I forget what it was, if it was just like a sapling or something like that I had. No, it was a mushroom. Yeah, I would probably head over to check out that mushroom, see if anything is going on with it or not.
It's still how you left it, actually. It doesn't look disturbed, but if you've mushrooms have a tendency to dry out, and although if you remember me saying it stopped growing as soon as you picked it, it doesn't look any worse for the wear from when you picked it, if that makes sense.
So it's not decaying either.
Correct.
So whatever this is, Void is kind of surmising out loud, it seems like it's still functional, it's just in stasis.
Into the room, then Jalem, Eve is just looking at you, like her eyes just the littlest bit narrowed, gold and bright as she's staring at you. You're lying.
Am I? Again, you're forgetting who raised me and taught me everything I know.
Young is like nodding aggressively. Of course, that deceitful woman would teach you all kinds of tricks. She probably gave you all kinds of secret backdoor protocols, and Eve just holds her hands up. Quiet, Professor. My brother is not inside that fruit.
His seed is.
I feel not the presence of my other half. You are deceiving us.
And what benefit do I have to do that? I mean, I'm literally at your mercy right now. Why would I do that? Like, I've already backstabbed them. They know they've already outed myself as an inner agent. What benefit do I have to do this, Eve? If that is your name, I think. Is that your name? Or is that just a moniker of yours?
Eve is all I go by. And
yes, I can make another one of him. And yes, the good doctor did teach me everything she knew. And if you're wondering where she is, she's dead. You know, no loose ends.
You just see the villains sort of exchanging looks around here. Eve folds her arms under her chest and just still looks a bit unconvinced, but in a remarkably similar way, Jalem, you've experienced this very recently with another Parasol subdirector. When their plans start to fall apart, these directors don't keep it together super well. Some of the panic and anxiety is starting to seep into Young, and he looks ready to believe like the worst of everyone, if that makes sense.
Ay, ay, ay. And at this, Jalem just like theatrically sighs and says, "Okay, look, this panic is clearly not doing well for the good doctor. You know what? You look like you need sugar. Seriously. Here." And then she just like casually tosses an apple to Young and then to Apology. "Here, take it as a peace offering."
On the ship, when the word sugar starts to pass over the phone, you guys just see Titania sit up on the couch. Did someone say my name?
Okay.
Void just tosses her another honey bun, which he still has.
Thank you. She just flops back over. So to be clear, you passed it to the two adults,
To
not
a-
Eve.
And she gave one to Eve for good measure, because, you know, peace offering.
Okay. They all hold it, and the first one to dig in is Dr. Young, as he starts to not eat, but he just digs his fingers in, starts to tear apart the fruit to like get to the core to find those seeds.
And the seeds are there. Believe me now. I can recreate him. After all, it's what I'm here for.
Eve is just looking at you, and she lifts the apple up to her face and sniffs it. What is this? My brother is not here.
Yeah, he's not in the flesh of the fruit. You see those little black bits that the doctor's holding on to? That's where his information is coded.
Young looks for a moment like he's starting to believe you. Eve then, with the apple still like imposing over half of her face so that you can only see the golden eyes above it, holds her other hand out and says, "I wish the reincarnation seed was in my hand." And Void, the mushroom disappears.
Shit.
Did we hear that over the phone? I don't know how far away Eve was from the phone.
Yeah, you don't definitely hear it.
That is concerning. I think we need to make our move now.
Out of curiosity, where in the building is she?
Is who?
Jillem. As well as everyone else.
Third floor.
Third floor, north, south, east, or west.
Kind of centrally located, but there's a pane of windows that's like behind Young's desk, which is out into the open, if that makes sense.
And would Void's technology be able to pick up on where her signal is broadcasting from?
Unless I'm wrong, I would assume so, right, Void?
Yeah, as long as she still has the GPS thing enabled.
Which she does.
So, in that same scene transition, then the mushroom and that little, I'm gonna say it's like a Ziploc baggie, appears in Eve's hand, and she just her eyes slide to it and then back over the apple, looking at you.
That's new. Huh.
I'm gonna try something stupid now,
Yeah,
cause that has me panicking.
and
I'm
that has
going
my
to
jamming flopped.
I am going to take a hold of Titania and say, I wish the mushroom was back on the ship.
Oh, I could be really mean, but I'm not going to. I could embed the ship in the building.
I mean, that could work too.
So you channel Titania's powers and attempt to use them. For this purpose, please make me an Unleash Your Powers check.
Will do. Oh, hell yeah.
You're
Oh, thank you.
kidding.
What is this twist of fate? Seriously.
Max roll, baby.
Oh my god.
Okay, that happens, and then immediately the mushroom disappears again, and Eve, like, looks back to it concerned for a second, and, like, you see her close her hand a few times. Where did it go?
Who do you think has it?
Then you just hear, probably for the first time, like, ever, Apology lets out a huge guffawing laugh.
Huh?
He just suddenly sits up and he's like slapping his knee, like rubbing tears out of his eyes. You you guys are getting played by a bunch of grade schoolers.
You're aware of what just happened? Because if you are, that's news to me.
I don't have to know what specifically happened to know that you lot are beating them up again, teaching them how creative you can be, I guess.
Hmm.
You see him, he stands up and tosses the apple that you gave him behind his shoulder, and as it
Did he
flings
take a
back,
bite out of it?
no, as it flings back, it's smoking and black as it hits the ground.
Well, shit.
He walks over, still laughing, still monologuing. Young is just like sort of staring at him, like struck like dumb, as he just says, "For all the genius strategist you said you were, years of my time, all access to the H2A, and your plans get foiled by children?"
Hmm.
As a side note, once we do get the mushroom back, Void is going to literally, like, still inside the safety packaging, obviously, just like tuck it into his own body and just focus as hard as he can, because he's probably really depleted. I'm assuming the same kind of sugar depletion effect, but as much energy as he still has on power nullification to try to stop it from being teleported away again.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that's kind of up to you a little bit. If your alien species has the same sort of biological function with sugar as a human does, you can kind of make a toss up on that, but it would do the same difference to you.
Yeah, probably not the same thing in terms of it being sugar specifically, but there's probably some similar chemical reaction.
But gotcha, you can totally do that. Are you guys just staying put, or are you like coming cavalry in, or what's the intention?
Once we've triaged the others, I guess that's kind of up to the group. We don't really have a full picture of what's going on, but I'm guessing we probably know that things aren't going according to her plan at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emily, you're the only other one that's functioning right now.
Rip.
Technically, Maro is there as well.
That's true. He's definitely just been attending to Titania the whole time.
Yeah.
But he will look up and say, do I need to go punch some heads? Because I've been asking to go punch some heads for a little while now, and okay.
I think it's time we go punch some heads.
Alright, it worked for Praying Mantis, it'll work for this guy. Totally no repercussions.
The ship. I'll shift back into the. Oh no, I can't. Can I? I'm gonna have to direct the ship because I have that thing inside of me now. Yeah, I'll have to like really wobbly control the ship. Try to get it into a position, but I'm going to, instead of trying to do this on my own, call in for air support to breach a hole in the side of the building that we can literally land the ship in the room.
Gotcha. Alright. Inside Jalim, you see Eve is just, again, sitting kind of placidly, but at this point, Apology has strode over and is standing like chest to chest with Young, hand on his desk, like still ranting at him, you know. We've worked together all this time. You promised me you'd make the best goddamn hero this world has ever seen. And this is what you give me? He points a very menacing finger at you. She's not even a halfway decent fighter, and you've let her ruin everything.
Shalem says nothing because it's kind of true. Like, she's just waiting for Young's reaction at this point.
And he's mostly just, stammering like, but my plans are perfect. Like, I accounted for everything. If only they would all do what I say, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, so you've got eyes on Young. He's, a 20-something, 30, I think I said a little bit older than that looking, college grad student type of turtleneck sweater, brown mousy hair, and you're looking at him eyes on. And then Apology reaches over and wraps his hand around something on the desk, and Young just immediately goes like stock still.
And Shalem is now paying attention to what that could be.
And you hear a crunch, snap, and there'd be like, sizzle sound effects as the form of Young immediately dissipates, and a cracked glass globe is all that's left on the desk.
Oh no.
Apology's hand just continues to clench, and at that point it becomes fire, and the whole desk and all of its contents are burning, and Apology just uses his other hand to slick back his hair, flips it. This is why I don't work with people.
So is his attention fully on Young?
His attention is formally on the ash pile that used to be Dr. Young.
How is Eve doing?
She is sitting totally placidly, looking at this with thin amounts of interest. So, sorry, I want to be extra clear here, given conclusion and stuff. This is the brain jar, the orb that the brain was in that you guys saw him in originally, that he totally made you think he could shift out of, but was absolutely on the desk the whole time.
You know, it just occurs to me, what is the water, or what are the fire repellent systems like in the H2A building? Like if there's a fire, would the sprinklers go off?
Yeah, now that you say that, there's probably sprinklers going off.
And what did you then put into the water tank?
The seed.
The seed that had the whole overpowering solution, which is now spraying throughout the entire building. I mean, she's gonna get hit by it, but...
Okay, so you're saying every hero in the H2A building is just getting a steroid dose, right?
Yep. Which is now gonna bite them in the ass, and... Jilem just says, well... Hey, apology, quick question for you.
He just turns and, like flicking a cigarette, but something black and greasy just splatters at the ground at your feet. Yeah, brat?
Ever feel like you've been played? As the water system goes off?
Frequently. Any last smart words before you join him?
Jilem just raises up a hand with 3, and she counts down to 2, to 1. She says, "Have fun," and then cue the immense feedback.
Well, I will actually say at that point, cue the Y-wing floating up to the window and blasting a hole in.
Yep.
So one of your fighters, Void Spawn, is detonated the side of the building as you request.
I will go ahead and just basically ham-fistedly slam the ship into the room and land.
So beached whale style.
Oh yeah. This is gonna take some wedging to get back out.
Gotcha.
I wonder how your insurance is, Void.
The ramp into the ship opens up, and you guys are just able to see into this room of the sprinklers going off. The 3 of them sort of standing at this juxtaposition, and as soon as you guys are looking, it's the 3, 2, 1, and then Apology just lights all on fire. Suddenly becomes giant pillar of flame that's filling this room.
And Jilem will grab Eve and hide her and herself behind like a wall of vines.
So there's this brief moment where you're like shielding each other. You're holding Eve close to you, and she, for the record, feels totally cold as she just looks at you, golden eyes, and she just smirks. I am now alone.
Yeah, I know. But you're gonna have that feedback too, so have fun with the headache.
Yeah, she just looks at you, her eyes are dimming and like blinking and refocusing. I am now alone.
Good night,
And
princess.
I'm assuming you are also out of it, Jillian?
Yeah, like the last thing she says, like, yep, not one of my best. And she just collapses, like underneath that wall of vines. Actually, can I roll to take a powerful blow for that?
Yeah, sure. I'll let you roll to take damage.
What damage?
I actually didn't, yeah.
Like the second low roll of the entire night.
So
I love roll 20.
So when you guys like come across like this wall of vines, you just see a barely conscious Jilem holding on to you, like, "Hey guys, what's up? How's
So yeah,
how's Firebug?"
yeah, I will say this isn't like a safe situation. I'm not saying he's not in a feedback loop, but currently Apology is like in process of like becoming an inferno in this room. So Void and Emily, how are you going to extricate people from this situation?
Well, didn't really think that through when I said I was wedging the ship in here.
Probably start breaking the vines around her to get her out. Kill him, I mean.
Okay, Emily, make me a savior roll. Oh no. Triple one. Okay.
I have 2 conditions, so
That's fair.
that did it to me.
Okay, Void. This isn't a do or die, but make the same roll, and then what I'm gonna do next will affect.
Okay.
And before Max,
Yeah, that's gonna be the luck. It's gonna be a 15.
Now, I do have a question because
Okay.
we never use this, so I don't remember for sure how it works. I do have influence over Jalem and Beatbox. Do I add +1 to my savior roll for that?
Correct. You would. Yeah, that's probably a roll we didn't use a lot, but if you have influence over someone, it should be +1 if you do anything to them.
Not that that would have helped me.
Yeah, you're right. But okay. So partial success.
can we use a team to make it a full success, or is it 10, 11, 12 that's a full?
Well, it's got. Did you already put the +1 in there?
Yes,
Asmund?
I did put the +1 in.
Okay, then yeah, 10, 11, 12 is the full success. So even with the team, you could.
Okay, just figured I'd ask.
I was gonna say that would work if he hadn't put the 1 in already, but if he did. Okay, so you were doing your damnedest to unwedge the spaceship Void Spawn. You are able to just get it out. Emily is able to just start to uncover Geliminal when the backdraft hits and the room explodes. The ship is pushed the rest of the way out forcefully, and the other girls go into a free fall, but you are out of the room. Ship is definitely damaged now, as basically you're all kind of just starting to plummet towards the bottom of the earth. But do you have any last minute things to add, or can I do something to save you?
I mean, Jilem is teetering at the brink of consciousness, so she can't do anything right now.
Go for it, my dude.
Void, I'm assuming, with essentially the equivalent of the sugar anti-rush is barely hanging on as well, but if he can, seeing that the situation has gotten considerably worse, he'll try to shadow portal the ship again and catch the others as they're falling to bring them with him.
Okay. As you do that, Void, you're like hanging on to your console of your ship, trying to keep conscious, trying to do this, and you just look to your side, and Dr. Mobius is there, and he looks at you and locks eyes with you, and all of a sudden, everyone stops falling, and time stops. You are maintaining this eye contact with him as he just holds up a finger and, the wait position. He walks backwards, keeping contact with you, and as he steps out of the ramp, he just steps onto thin air and is walking on it totally fine. He picks up Emily, puts her on the ship, picks up Jalim, puts her on the ship, just puts everyone back in, shuts the door, walks back up to you, and blinks, and you start falling again.
So we fall like onto the end of the ship.
You're all in the ship, and the ship starts falling.
Oh.
Now you can do that shadow point.
I will definitely attempt to do so in order to avoid crashing and burning.
And they all died at the end. But you definitely hit the ground. You immediately
Actually,
sink
you know
it.
what?
Oh,
I
what?
just thought of something that would be more cinematic than that. For the last little bit of my, I'm never gonna remember the name of that feature. The ultimate move thing. Moment of truth. For the last little bit of that, I'll have like several ships sweep in and tractor beam the ship to stop it from falling out of the sky.
Gotcha. Nice. Okay.
You enjoy your
You're-
detour and distraught there, you can.
The tractor beam ships come and pick up the your falling ship, which for the first time since you've been here, Void Spawn, your ship's like actually broken now. Like this is gonna need repairs, but to save you from crashing and burning, your people have come to the rescue once again.
Good thing I definitely didn't pick difficult to repair as one of the downsides to my ship. Oh wait, yes I did.
Nice. But there'd totally be a scene of most of your party is now lying down on the floor of the ship, like in some state of passing out or woundedness. But you see through the windshield of the ship just that room of the H2A burning, like all the windows blown out, and one by one there'd be a bunch of glowing golden lights in the field around the H2A building that start to all go out. And scene transition, fade to black, and there'd be like, well, there'd be words that would go in one of the panels like 2 weeks later, and you guys are all back at the secret base of where the park where you guys normally are at, and everyone's had time to recover and pick themselves together again, and you guys managed to get out of there.
And as an aside, is Eve still with them? Because like Jillian would not let Eve out of. Like she would have taken the anti-Young solution.
Gotcha. I will say you'll give me an extremely good story reason why she would stay with you. Because my intention is the first chance she gets, she's gonna wish to leave.
Like she would tell Eve that you're not alone. Like I wasn't lying to you when I said I could bring back your brother. Your brother's state was admittedly an accident, one that I tend to fix. So stick around. I will bring him back. That is a promise.
Okay, I'm not even gonna have you roll. That's like probably the only thing in the world you could have said that would have made her stick around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in the intervening 2 weeks, there's just a slightly creepy cold fish, golden-eyed girl who's been docking at your teals.
And then, like, was there a newspaper, like, with a headline that exposes all this?
Oh yeah, sure. And headline: City wakes from weeks of slumber. What the heck is going on? Big question mark.
I like to imagine that in true bureaucratic fashion, it like all of the credit goes to like Mobius and Fourfold Justice and assorted heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some notable headlines are Parasol villainy exposed, directors of secret research lab hoodwinked us all, and then next page, heroes of the H2A restore justice, Shinobi reinstated as rightful leader, all this yada yada. You guys aren't mentioned in the headline.
They just casually forget that we were wanted criminals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that no mention of the terrorist.
Yeah. And
Top
as like
10 weirdest things that happened during the slumber. Number 7 will surprise you.
oh hey
Oh
Reapin.
no.
Like as Julim and Eve are walking to the base, like Eve makes a note of that. No, Julim will make a note. Eve, take a note. Send apology basket to Shadow Shinobi. I'm pretty sure he's still mad. It was all part of the gambit.
Pretty sure he's probably still in the hospital.
Yeah.
He's in the
basket.
bed.
He's in the bed. He's in the bed next to
Vigil.
Silent Vigil.
Yes, he is.
And so Julim just arrives at their hidden base and just knocks.
Before you knock, next to the door in the grass, there is a frisbee that's being tossed between 3 heavily bandaged muscle siblings.
Hey Sheeb, Fox, Cat, how you doing?
My sword is dented, but it is becoming sharper.
But hey, you know what they say about swords? For every dent and blemish there is on it means that that's how many battles you've seen. And you can only grow stronger in battle, right?
Is it Mokugane, the metal that's bent that becomes stronger?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah, he just tail wags and he nods at his brother Catastrophe and says, "See, brother, they understand my metaphors." And Catastrophe just lets out a long suffering sigh.
And
You've just been folded once. You need to be folded 1,000 times before you become true steel.
but anyways, are you two recovering alright? Is the medicine I made helping?
It no longer hurts when I sit.
And then she just like pats him on the head. Good boy.
Alright, you make it your way down, and I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the rest of you are down there in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Boyd has probably been spending the entirety of his free time in the intervening 2 weeks trying to work up a. No, not even. He's been trying to work on fixing Nari.
I mean, with what information they can get from Eve's bloodline, that should help somewhat, right?
We do still have the mushroom, and we have Belladonna. Hopefully, we don't need her help, but if we do, it's there.
I will say the Parasol directors are super definitely in prison right now.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not with you, but you do have access to her.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Yeah,
it would be a little weird if we were just like allowed to keep her at our base.
If they beat the bad guys, they can keep them.
Even if we cited they're doing community service.
Oh, so yeah, I will definitely say that you've been able to make some progress, but I wanted to make this point before we finish wrapping up. But there'll totally be a flashback couple of panels for you, Void Spawn. Immediately after you guys got out of the wreckage and stuff, your parents were totally prepared to leave the stupid Earthlings, but take you onto their medical facilities and ditch this backwater planet. You feel me?
Oh yeah.
But you still with some level of consciousness. You have a memory of someone walking up and stopping your parents with a hand on their shoulders, and it was a little old lady at the start, but their form shifts and becomes a gray blob that immediately does a very recognizable 45-degree head tilt and says, "Stop, he belongs here, I believe." And your parents just freak out a little bit and immediately fall to their knees and say, "Hi, investigator. We're so sorry. We didn't know you were here. You've been missing for years. Why are you on Earth?" And the observer was attempting to accomplish a incredibly difficult investigation, which is not yet completed, but your son was helping me for this procedure, and I insist he stays on Earth until it is completed. You know, woom, 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 in flashback scene.
Man, where are Bill and Ted when you need them?
So, sorry. TLDR Observer was like a high investigator of the Velthor all along, and he's been missing for years. Yada yada.
And here I thought he was going to be more of the crazy old coot kind of stranger.
I don't actually know the political structure of your organization, but he's like a prince or something, as far as I could pretend.
Yeah, that works. I didn't think out like a whole world scenario of it, so
Really? 'Cause that would be like you.
I have the basics, but I didn't like get into like the political structure or anything like that.
Just wait, there'll be a spreadsheet.
That'll be for the sequel.
But yeah, you guys.
We visit my home planet on vacation.
Oh no.
Spring break.
Alright, you guys are all in the room, all safe and happy. Titania is recovered along with Marrow. You're all together and goodly. And let's see. Any last thoughts before I let you go now that I'm 45 minutes over?
Just to help Emily meet one of her goals. Not that we have meta knowledge, of course, but I will convert what's remaining of my ship because it's probably going to be too much for me to really repair, but I will convert what's remaining into a super cool sci-fi car for her.
Oh.
Oh.
So you got a Cybertruck Tesla.
The square one?
The square one.
Okay.
Complete with the broken windows.
Yeah. She tested the sound system in it once and it shattered the windows and she hasn't gotten that fixed yet. Her bad.
I will say, Emily, your parents totally welcomed you back with open arms. They admitted that, they were a bit too restrictive and all that. Oh, and nothing's changed yet. Everyone's still picking their pieces up, but the H2A is thinking it might set up a junior summer program for real this time.
And does Jilem have a job now? Now that she did technically work for Parasol.
She could just be a student.
So that can be up to you a little bit. Do you want to go to Parasol, or would you like to be a hero?
I mean, she did promise Eve that she would help. and she means to keep her word on it. And to do that, she kind of needs the resources. So, like, yeah, she'll help them whenever they're needed, but she needs to pick up the pieces of Parasol.
Okay, so I will say then that you could definitely try and get back in with what remains of Parasol now. It's kind of like wreck of a company because it got outed as being like this big evil thing, but you might be able to salvage something of it.
Mm-hmm.
Become a young entrepreneur.
And if anything, like, yeah, she does have that stigma of being, one of the former evil leads, like, student and all that, but, she's there to fix things. And how will they react when she says, yeah, I'm the one who exposed them?
Right, that's fair, and I think that once he gets out of the hospital, Shinobi will vouch for you.
And if anyone questions who, like, this young, emotionless girl following her is, she'll just say, that's my assistant. Don't bother her, don't bother me. Got it? Good.
Jalen Luther.
What?
What he just put in, Azur just put in chat.
Taking over the company.
Well, I mean, someone has to pick up the pieces. So yeah,
Alright.
so what? Jalen would have just walked up with a suitcase and all that.
Alright. So I'm sorry I'm keeping you guys late, but for the stream, for the record, and let it stand in posterity that this isn't the end of Halcyon and these characters' story. We'll come back later and hopefully do some more time skippy stuff and see what the future holds. But as we close this session, this arc, and this campaign, I have to ask you guys the final question now. The whole point of this story was to decide what your generation of heroes was going to be. So now I'll leave it to you. What is the name of your generation of heroes?
The stupid troll in my head wants me to say the Bullet Generation.
What? Jalem's the lead of that? Please don't say yes. But huh.
The troll in me also wants to make a riff off of Young Justice.
I mean, we could just base it off of meme culture in general and just say that our generation is the dab generation.
Oh
Please don't.
God.
You have been outvoted, sir.
In character, Void Spawn's vote for this, if there were such a thing, would be the DVD generation. They're delicious.
Nice.
I don't know. Like, what was your idea of of a rip off of Young Justice, Rainbow?
Their whole thing was they were just them, just us. So like the us
Mhm.
generation.
Hmm.
Or that said, if you like the new generation, you can just say that.
I mean, we might. The only thing that I can think of that ties us together is like some form of like tied to science in some way. I mean, because we have Emily and her sound, we have Void and Jilem as scientists, and then we also have Sheeb, who's like a product of a science project. But I don't think that rolls off the tongue well.
Also, it doesn't really apply to every hero of our generation. That's just like
Yeah.
specifically our.
Our group, yeah.
I'd like some kind of theming to do with the idea of a more unconventional approach to heroing, because I feel like that was basically our shtick. was we don't really
We don't
stick
play
to
by
the
rules.
conventional rules. Yeah, we don't stick to the conventional rules of, like go in with our capes on and our uniforms on and save the day. We kind of just did our own thing.
Mm.
The gray generation?
I had that thought too, actually.
Morally gray?
Do we get bonus brownie points for our administrative lead?
What?
In the IGC?
Oh god. If you don't have any strong ideas, we can come back to it at the end of next campaign.
Yeah, let's just come back to it because like that was a sideswipe from there.
Alright,
I
that's
kind of
totally
like
fair.
gray, but yeah.
I mean, we could just come up with the theme like morally gray.
Well, I will tentatively peg gray then, just for my records, but we will definitely see if that holds true for the next series of adventures for your characters.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys come up with anything before 2024, when I actually get this posted, let me know, and I'll use it.
Wait, you're actually going to draw out every single event?
No, I mean when I actually get the video posted, because I'm a lazy sack of garbage.
Oh, and here I thought you were actually going to.
Last end card for this arc and this section of the comic would just be a very wide shot of an asteroid far out into space, and a single dark figure made of total blackness with nothing but eyes interspersed throughout him. It's just staring off into the distance, and you can see Earth as a small blue marble away, and he just says in a very blocky text, like robotic-y voice, "Situation remains unchanged. Impact date still calculated at 2 years, 4 months, 3 days, 2 hours." And that's the end of it.
Ooh.